Between October and December last year, 56,150 livestock deaths were reported due to climate crisis in Turkana County.
Oh, the uncertain rainfall pushed agro-pastoralists in the arid county to embrace rehabilitation of grazing lands in the region. They have managed to maintain food supply for what's left of their livestock and other income-generating activities to keep them going. Now, as Kenya plays host to the Africa Climate Summit tomorrow and the rest of the week, our environment, conservation and climate change features reporter Agnes Oloo paints the Rangelands Restoration picture in tonight's special Turkana's Grass of Hope.
A few months after the short rains in March and April this year,
the
sight of dried up open water sources in Turkana County is a far too common. Rivers Kalubeyei and Nasira in Turkana West, River Tarach in Kakuma Town, northwestern Turkana, are among the open water sources which already dried. River Kawalase meanders through Lodwar town. 3 months ago, it burst, its banks wreaking havoc due to heavy downpour in the upper region. Now, Kawalase trickling into a dried riverbed. Kakuma town at sunset. A struggle to make ends meet. A drive to Turkana North. A drop-off at Pelekech location, Lokore sublocation, you find Pelekech Environmental Rangeland Management Group. They are finalizing housekeeping issues. Then, get to work. This is Andrew Boki's home in Akunoiti Garden Village, Pelekech North. The 69-year-old father of 14 is the team leader of the Pelekech Environmental Rangeland Management Group. Mzee Boki is elated to talk about the group he leads.
Nilipata hii maneno ya kupanda nyasi kwa miaka 2007 ambaye sasa watu wa Kefri ndio walikuwa wananipatia ujuzi.
Like him, most members of the group own an insignificant number of goats, but no cows, he says, for a reason affecting countless others in the area.
Najua sasa Turkana na hii watu ya Sudani na watu wa Uganda anang'anyang'anya na ng'ombe.
Apart from cattle rustling, Mzee Boki also attributes lack of cattle to past harsh climatic weather conditions.
Nyasi ilikuwa mingi, ile kitu amepoteza hiyo mbuzi yote kwa sababu ya mvua.
At 8:30 a.m., Boki has to join group members in farm for grass harvesting. He ensures everyone is busy. A team of men is tasked with baling using the only available machine. To hasten the process, Boki and other members do it manually using these improvised holes, all preparing hay for sale. Kilometers away in Ariemeto village, Songot location in Turkana West sub-county, a similar project is staged by Ariemeto Rangeland Management Group. They have grass in plenty, but are unable to harvest further. Lucas Ikai is the group chairman.
Mwaka huu tujavuna nyasi kwa sababu store yetu ni kidogo. Ile nyasi ya mwaka jana iko kwa store.
Pelekech and Ariemeto Rangeland groups are both women-driven in key positions, with a handful of men shadowing.
Wanaume ni 7, sisi wanawake 21.
Serikali ya sasa ameangalia wanawake ndio wanaumia katika community sana.
Lojiam David agrees that in Turkana tradition, men are highly regarded in position of leadership, but with time that has changed.
Mwanaume Mturkana hawezi kukubali, lakini sasa wakati huu wamekubali kwa sababu mambo yote naangalia mwanamke sahi.
They believe that women are compassionate and in most cases are fair in decision making. But another more lucrative reason is donor attraction. Experts experienced working with climate-vulnerable communities agree that during climate crisis, in most cases, women and children are on the receiving end, more so in Asal.
You find that in a community, men leave their homes so that they go and look for pasture for their herds.
We've seen very disturbing stories, for instance, of women and children trekking for tens or hundreds of kilometers during drought just to look for water for domestic use.
The Narimeto Rangeland Regeneration Project sits on 29.14 acres of land, while the Pelekech project is done on 15.5 acres of community land. The project land is carefully subdivided into portions, priority given to rotational grazing for the group-owned goats to avoid overgrazing.
Alafu hii block A ndio mbuzi nakula mara ya kwanza, naenda kukula block A. Alafu kutoka huko hiyo kicha tunarudisha mbuzi huko, inakuja hapa block B. Ikotoka inaenda huko, alafu ile chamba tunatoa nyasi kabla bado iko mbichi. Hii chamba juu hii
Unashikilia hivi. Inakuja tu hivi.
A section is dedicated to seed bulking and hay harvesting, while another portion is left untouched to facilitate the ongoing research activities. Dr. Oscar Koech from the University of Nairobi is among the specialists behind restoring grazing opportunities in drought-dominated areas.
We also work with communities to support them in terms of applicable technologies to productivity, like reseeding, pasture production, sustainable animal husbandry practices. And we're also getting feedback from these communities because we're also doing future research.
Researchers also introduced gala goats into the system, a species that is resilient against harsh weather conditions.
Gala goat tulipata 2021. Hiyo ndio tumepata hiyo mbuzi. Hiyo mbuzi ilikuwa 12. Kwa sasa hivi tuko na 29.
But why did they choose to work with goats and not cows?
Actually, it's like a quick cash M-Pesa for these communities, you know, when they want to pay school fees, medical issues, easy to dispose, easy to sell and get some income, and that's what you are targeting.
According to Dr. Koech, gala goats are not new in drylands of Kenya. The goats are adapted with slightly better bodies that have feed conversion efficiency. This means gala goats give more milk besides their meat. Narimeto project has been in existence for 16 years, while the Pelekech project has operated for close to 13 years, unfortunately dependent on the unpredictable rainfall. Groups rely on weathermen to know when to start preparing the land for reseeding or planting.
Radio za jamii ikitangaza tunakuwa tayari kwamba heri tuwe tayari kwa ajili ya mvua. Kwa wenye anaishi kando chini ya karibu na laga wa kando, lakini kwetu hapa ni kutayarisha tu chamba. Mbegu ziko ndani inalala tu.
These harvests are from the April-May short rains. Group members acknowledge how good and supportive the projects have been and just thinking of life without it.
Saa zingine nauza hii nyasi pata pesa ya kupeleka mtoto kwa shule.
Kama ni kuuza nauza napata shilingi 2 nakula. Mwenye akuli anahisi mbaya.
So tukipata hiyo 30,000 sisi hatuwezi kuchukua zote kwa account. Ku account hawezi kosa yake. Alafu members hawezi kosa incentive zao.
Tumekuwa hii kitu ndio bora kwetu.
The contented voices represent other groups in Asal that solely rely on rainwater to improve their resilience. They yearn for lasting intervention to make water supply in the area unlimited.
Alafu ichimbiwe maji jane kwa wale watu ambao hako na machamba yote.
Kati hiyo kisima watakapo shimba watuwekee lafeta ambayo inaweka maji storage.
Sisi tungekula kila siku kwa sababu tukupuna wengine wanatoka. Tukufuna, wengine wanatoka. Sasa vile sisi hakuna maji, tukufuna mara moja, tunakaa mti.
Alafu napatiwa tena watu elimu, apunze wa kila mtu achike maneno ya kupanda nyasi kuliko kwenda kwa area ingine, alafu ndio apate kujani.
But just how viable is the idea by the community members who want well-wishers to sink them boreholes to boost agro-pastoralism? Dr. Susan Chomba, the Director for Vital Landscapes at World Resource Institute, WRI, explains.
I think sinking boreholes, of course, is one particular element, but from a landscape perspective and understanding the dynamics of how water works, it can be a very dangerous precedence if all that we have to solve our drought solutions is to sink boreholes.
Many questions arise on how many boreholes can be sunk to irrigate these projects. How sustainable can it be, and what impact will it have on the ground? What are the cost implications?
I've sunk a borehole in Naivasha, and roughly just looking at the cost of that borehole, it was about $500. If you're looking at sinking many boreholes and perhaps even investing in equipment and technology, the initial investment cost would probably be higher.
Sinking water is possible, but we are not investing much into those because they're heavy investments initially because of what you have done to the environment. Earlier impacts, I said, deforestation, you have done degradation. So instead of recharging underground water tables for us even to get water from the bores or shallow wells easily, this water is not going to be available. And you've seen some boreholes dry.
If you're just thinking about one borehole maybe per village, that's something that can work. But if you're thinking about sustainable water systems, boreholes are not sustainable.
But is it possible to have a lasting solution to water challenges in arid and semi-arid areas?
The same areas we also see water becoming a problem. We've seen floods taking everything and all that stuff. And we cannot sometimes say it's water that is the problem. It's us who are not putting the structures and investment into utilizing the little that you're getting.
And so one of the key things that we can do to help arid and semi-arid areas is actually to optimize the use of water when it happens during the rainy season. So obviously there's the rainwater harvesting, but there's also the existing rivers and lakes that can be a huge sort of solution for irrigating and for providing water for arid and semi-arid areas.
Dr. Susan also emphasizes the need for a stronger framework to be put in place by the concerned parties.
I want to point that it's not just about having the policies around rainwater harvesting, it's actually having implementation strategies and investments that helps communities to be able to do that. I'm not talking about billions of US dollars, I'm talking about tactics that local governments, the county governments can be able to use to be able to tap onto the rainwater, surface water when it happens.
Communities in arid and semi-arid areas have for some years developed some adaptation techniques. The problem is the intensity of droughts and floods that have made what used to be traditional coping mechanisms completely not effective. Tried and tested, Turkana's grass of hope can turn out to be Turkana's golden grass if resources are pulled together and channeled to the communities. However, Turkana County government's resilience plan towards climate change action remain unclear as correspondence to Office of the Governor and relevant departments was received with a cold shoulder. As African heads of states put their heads together in Nairobi, Kenya during Africa Climate Summit, Africans can only be hopeful that there will be a common position for Africa as a continent on climate adaptation funding. Another hope is that the agenda to compensate those who have lost their loved ones and their resources of livelihoods as a result of climate crisis will also be prioritized. Agnes Oloo, Citizen TV.